Have you ever wondered how a single moment can completely transform someone's life? What if I told you that sometimes God works in the most unexpected ways, through the items we discard and the places we least expect to find hope? Today, I'm going to share a story that will leave you questioning whether coincidences truly exist. A story about a man who found something extraordinary in the most ordinary place. A simple trash can on a cold winter night. What he discovered wasn't just a discarded Bible. It was what was hidden within its pages that would shake him to his very core and rewrite his entire life story. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal might just change the way you see divine intervention forever. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story, I want you to imagine something. Imagine walking alone on a dark street, feeling completely lost in your life. Your bank account is empty. Your relationships are broken. Your hope is gone. And then, in the most unlikely place, you find something that speaks directly to your soul, as if it was placed there specifically for you to find. This is the story of Michael Thompson, a 43-year-old former business executive who had lost everything. His high-paying job, his marriage, his relationships with his children, and most tragically, his faith. Michael grew up in a Christian household. Every Sunday morning, his family would attend church without fail. He knew all the hymns by heart, could recite scripture, and truly believed that God had a plan for his life. But as he grew older, that faith began to wane. The corporate world consumed him. Success, money, and status became his new religion. And for a while, it seemed to work. He had the corner office, the luxury car, the beautiful home. But as many discovered too late, success without purpose is a hollow achievement. When the financial crisis hit, Michael lost everything. His company downsized, his investments crumbled, and the stress destroyed his marriage. Within a year, he found himself living in a small apartment, working odd jobs just to keep the lights on. But rock bottom wasn't just financial for Michael. It was spiritual. He had completely turned his back on God, convinced that if God were real, he wouldn't have allowed such devastation in his life. This is where our story truly begins. It was December 24th, Christmas Eve. Michael was walking home from his shift at a local convenience store. The streets were decorated with holiday lights, and everywhere he looked, he saw families shopping, laughing, celebrating together, a painful reminder of everything he had lost. As he passed an alleyway, something caught his eye. Someone had discarded a large box of items next to a dumpster. Curiosity drew him closer, and that's when he saw it. A leather-bound Bible, worn but still intact, sitting on top of the pile. Michael hadn't touched a Bible in years. His first instinct was to keep walking, but something he couldn't explain made him stop. He reached down and picked up the Bible, brushing off some dirt from its cover. "What are you doing?" he asked himself. "This won't solve anything." But he took it anyway. Perhaps it was the loneliness of another Christmas spent alone, or maybe it was something more divine. Either way, Michael tucked the Bible under his arm and continued home. In his small apartment, he placed the Bible on his kitchen table and went about his evening routine. It wasn't until later, when sleep wouldn't come, that he finally sat down and opened it. The Bible appeared to be decades old. The pages were yellowed, and there were notes written in the margins, personal reflections from its previous owner. But what truly caught Michael's attention was what fell out when he turned to the Book of Psalms. It was a handwritten letter, folded neatly and tucked between the pages. The letter was dated 15 years earlier and addressed simply, "To whoever finds this Bible." Michael's hands trembled as he began to read. "Dear friend, if you're reading this, then my old Bible has found its way to you. I don't know who you are or what circumstances led you to this moment, but I believe with all my heart that God has orchestrated this meeting across time. My name is Elizabeth Walker. By the time you read this, I will have left this earthly life behind. The doctors gave me 6 months when I wrote this letter, though I'm continuing to pray for a miracle. I don't know your struggles or your pain, but I know that if you found my Bible, perhaps you're searching for something. Hope, answers, comfort, peace. I searched for these things too when my diagnosis came. In the darkest moment of my life, I discovered something profound. God doesn't promise us an easy life, but He promises to never leave us alone in our suffering. I've highlighted verses throughout this Bible that carried me through my storm. I pray they might be a light in whatever darkness you're facing. And please turn to Psalm 34, verse 18. There's something there I've left especially for whoever needs to find this Bible next. With love and faith, Elizabeth. Michael sat in stunned silence, the letter shaking in his hands. How could this be? A letter written 15 years ago, speaking so directly to his current situation? It seemed impossible, yet here it was. With tears forming in his eyes, he turned to Psalm 34 verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Elizabeth had highlighted this verse and written in the margin. When everything feels lost, remember this truth. But there was something else tucked into that page. A small envelope, sealed with wax. Michael carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph and another note. The photograph showed a young woman, presumably Elizabeth, surrounded by a group of children in what looked like a developing country. She was smiling broadly despite looking frail. The note read, "These children in Honduras lost everything in Hurricane Mitch. I met them during my last mission trip before my illness progressed. They taught me that joy isn't dependent on circumstances but on knowing you are loved. When I was afraid of dying, I remembered their faces. Friend, whatever you've lost, it can be found again in a different form. Not through wealth or status, but through purpose. The purpose God designed specifically for you. Inside this envelope, I've included something else. Consider it a seed for your new beginning. What grows from it is between you and God." Michael turned the envelope upside down and a single key fell onto the table. It was an ordinary-looking key with a small tag attached that read, "Storage Unit Number 247, Central Storage Facility." His mind raced. What could possibly be in that storage unit? Was it even still there after 15 years? And more importantly, would he be allowed access with just this key? The questions multiplied, but something else was happening within Michael, something he hadn't felt in years. A spark of hope. A sense that perhaps this wasn't just a coincidence. Perhaps there was a greater plan at work. That night, Michael did something he hadn't done in years. He prayed. It was a simple, awkward prayer, but it was sincere. God, if you're real, if you're really there, help me understand what this means. The next morning, Christmas Day, Michael found himself standing outside Central Storage Facility. To his surprise, it was still in business. With nervous anticipation, he approached the office and explained his unusual situation to the manager on duty. After verifying some information and checking their records, the manager's eyes widened. Unit number 247? That unit's rent has been paid for 20 years in advance. The account holder was an Elizabeth Walker, and she left specific instructions that whoever came with the key should be granted full access. Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. Elizabeth had planned this meticulously, ensuring that whoever found her Bible would be able to access whatever she had left behind. As he stood before unit number 247, key in hand, Michael's heart pounded. What awaited him inside? What had Elizabeth left that she believed could change someone's life? With a deep breath, he unlocked the door and rolled it up. The storage unit wasn't filled with gold or jewels or anything of obvious material value. Instead, it contained several neatly organized boxes, each labeled with a simple word: faith, hope, purpose, love, and future. In the center was a desk with a letter prominently displayed, once again addressed to whoever finds this Bible. The letter explained that Elizabeth had been a successful child psychologist before her diagnosis. Having no family of her own, she had decided to leave her life savings to establish a foundation that would help children who had experienced trauma. However, she didn't want just anyone running this foundation. She wanted someone who understood what it meant to lose everything and find hope again, someone whose heart God had prepared. The boxes contained all the legal documentation, funding information, and framework needed to establish the New Beginning Foundation. Elizabeth had left nearly $500,000 in an account that had been gathering interest for 15 years. Her instructions were clear. The person who found her Bible was to use these resources to help children find hope in their darkest moments. Michael was overwhelmed, not just by the responsibility being offered to him, but by the incredible chain of events that had led him here. How had Elizabeth's Bible ended up in that trash pile on that specific night when he happened to walk by? The final paragraph of Elizabeth's letter read, "If you've come this far, it's because God has a purpose for your life that's greater than anything you've lost. Your past doesn't define you, it prepares you. Your pain doesn't destroy you, it equips you to help others through theirs. This isn't about money or status. It's about purpose. Your purpose. The one God designed specifically for you long before you were born." Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Your future begins now. Today, 5 years later, The New Beginning Foundation helps thousands of children each year overcome trauma through therapy, education, and faith-based support. Michael Thompson serves as its director, working alongside a dedicated team of professionals who share his vision. The Bible that Michael found that Christmas Eve sits in a glass case in the foundation's lobby, open to Psalm 34 verse 18, with Elizabeth's note visible to all who enter. When everything feels lost, remember this truth. Michael often tells visitors the story of how he found the Bible in a trash can, and how what was inside, not just the letter or the key, but the message of hope, changed his life forever. And here's what's truly remarkable about this story. Elizabeth never knew who would find her Bible. She never knew Michael Thompson or his struggles. She simply acted in faith, trusting that God would guide her Bible into the hands of the person who needed it most. Music builds for final message. Friends, what about you? Could it be that the challenges you're facing right now are preparing you for a purpose greater than anything you can imagine? Could it be that God is working in ways you cannot see, orchestrating divine appointments and opportunities that will one day make sense of your pain? The Bible tells us in Romans 8 verse 28 that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. All things, even the painful things, even the losses, even the failures. So tonight, I want to leave you with this question. What if your greatest setback is actually setting you up for your greatest comeback? What if, like Michael finding that Bible in a trash can, God has placed something in your path that will completely transform your story? Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart ready. And remember that sometimes hope is found in the most unexpected places. Thank you for joining me today. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need encouragement. And until next time, remember that your story isn't over yet. The best chapters may still be waiting to be written.